Good evening, Chicago. Welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnik here with you. We are going to have some fun here tonight. It was a busy week in Chicago sports. We had the Olympics end in some triumphant Chicago fashion too. A gold medal winning goal came to Chicago. We will discuss that. The Cubs and the Sox played a series, but not before the White Sox finally did something that everybody knew was coming and had to come. Pedro Grifol was given the boot. But then maybe biggest of all, do the Bears, dare we say it, have they got a quarterback? Does hope spring eternal in the city of broad shoulders? Is it August and in football? Of course it does. We will break down the preseason professional debut of one Caleb Williams out in Western New York and the good things we had there. It was so good. We're going to have some help on that front when we get there in a little bit with a friend of the program who was at the game. All that plus more coming up right now here on Chi-Town Weekly. Buckle on up, everybody. Let's have some fun. And hello and good evening, everyone. I am your host, Adam Karnik. So glad that you are here with us tonight. Chi-Town Weekly, episode 195. We are getting closer and closer and closer to that magic 200. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh. How in the world have I been able to keep yapping so long? I don't know. We have a lot to get through here tonight. We are talking Bears. We are talking White Sox. We are talking Cubs. We are talking Olympics. And we're going to talk some Chicago Sky before we're out of here tonight. Lots to get through on the program. Lots to do. But before we go anywhere, of course, a quick word from our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky and Seal the Deal Wax Seals. We'll be right back after that and then dive into the festivities. Do not go anywhere. IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Be sure to check out both of our sponsors, Seal the Deal Wax Seals and Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. For premium brisket beef jerky, I would highly encourage and recommend the jalapeno, the volcanic jalapeno. That is some tasty, tasty stuff. And of course, this show, like all the others that we do here at IE Sports Radio, is available for you on all the social media platforms. You can follow along with the station on X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok by just searching at IE Sports Radio. Or if you listen later on in the week, of course, these shows are available on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, all the places where you get podcasts. They are here for you and here to be had. This show is also available for you on Twitter. We are at IESRC. You can follow along there, or you can follow along with me personally. I am at Adam_Karnik. So I wanted to start the show off here tonight, of course, with the Bears. What a game on Saturday as the Bears went into Western New York to Buffalo, and for what it's worth, they won the game 33-6. To me, that is the far less important part of the story. What to me is far more critical and far more important as we welcome in everybody into the chat room. By the way, hello, Crypto Runners and Taryn Rodriguez, Davidson Crooks, Brandon Buck. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, one and all. Thank you all for being here and listening in live. I appreciate it. Hop on into the chat room, everybody. We can have some fun that way. For me, the score of the game was far less important. You know, the preseason games, winning is secondary to, first of all, of course, making sure everybody comes out of the game healthy, but also that you're getting things accomplished that you mean to. And in this case, Caleb Williams finally got to make his debut, and what a debut it was. 4 for 7 for 95 yards, no touchdowns or interceptions. He did have one scramble for 13 yards in there, but hitting his first 4 passes, and 2 of the 3 incompletions were drops by his receivers. And the third down production that the Bears offense had with Caleb Williams out there, 2 for 4 on third down, including a 3rd and 12 on the opening drive where he surveyed the field and found DJ Moore, his certainly second, probably third option on the play. That was, to me, the first real significant play. We'll get into more of it, of course, as we go. But that that to me was the first sit up and, oh, hey, look at that. This looked like a professional offense, and making it through progressions and knowing where the sticks were, knowing where his receiver was. That was impressive. Then we get to the fun things. We get to the screen passes. We get to the everybody sit up and take notice 26-yard on the run dart to Cole Kmet. We get to all those fun things. But that was a solid A performance from me. I would absolutely give Caleb Williams an A grade for that performance in that game. That was impressive. That was an impressive debut. The Buckamania coming from a Saints fan. Y'all won, bro. I'm hoping Spencer Rattler can be that for us in the future. Yeah, we'll see who else from this quarterback class steps up, but it certainly does feel early on anyway that the early returns for Caleb Williams, they keep coming up good. And now I want to invite into the show now a friend of the program that was there for the game, so we can get some firsthand. So we can ask some firsthand questions and get a firsthand feel for it. She is the host of the Buffalo Huddle on Tuesday nights here on IE Sports Radio, 6:00 Central, 7:00 Eastern, doing a wonderful job representing Bills Mafia. And we might even see her in an episode of Hard Knocks coming up because her section was filmed. We welcome now into the program Patty Bax. Patty, good evening. How are you?
Good, Adam. Thank you for wearing Bills colors. I love the shirt.
Well, it's actually a Cubs shirt, but it is close.
I didn't see the Cubs, but I just saw the blue, and I'm like, that's really nice of you.
It's a sharp color. I like it was funny. A couple years ago when the Bears were very much in the doldrums, we knew that Trubisky was not going well and lots of other things were going bad. It was a fun exercise in sports talk radio in Chicago to, all right, you're really that sick of the Bears? Well, let's help you pick a new team. And the Bills were constantly the team that everybody was wanting to wind up with. Mm-hmm. They didn't always get the bill. They would do all kinds of fun games like, spin the wheel of fortune or things like that. But the Bills were always the team that everybody kept waiting for. So there is a kinship there.
Well, definitely, because Marv Levy, Hall of Fame coach Marv Levy, lives in Chicago. So there's a lot of connections, and at least three of the players that you have, starting with Tremaine Edmonds, they used to be Bills. So there is that connection for sure. And I think what really had an influence on this game, Eric Washington used to be our defensive coordinator, and then he is now with you. I think that, there was this probably a little bit of an added incentive to beat the Bills and to really show the dominance. And that's kind of what happened. And yes, I was there for sure. I've been a season ticket holder for the Bills for 35 years. But I was quickly reminded myself that when the Bills made the Super Bowl 4 straight years, they didn't win in preseason. And like Terrence said, you can't take it seriously preseason. Sure, the score was disgustingly unbalanced. But I think, I have a couple things that came to mind too while I was sitting watching this game. First of all, Chicago had already played a game, so they already kind of got their feet wet. Second of all, the Bills broke training camp, and didn't have much time. Training camp is not in Orchard Park where the stadium is located. It actually is about an hour and 15 minutes away. So with that being said, there was a lot of transition. They had to pack up. They had to get reacclimated to the area. Over 20 players on the Bills are new to the area. They're not familiar with, I mean, simple things you have to remember, like where are you going to live when you get back, where your family, if you have to relocate your family. A lot of these logistical things took away from, I think, that planning. And even Josh Allen said himself, he said, that was not us. I'd like to think that aliens came down and took our team, but that's, neither here nor there. But you could clearly see this is not Bill's culture. And Josh was upset. Coach McDermott was very upset. And I think a lot of it has to do with we lost a lot of leadership. A lot of veterans are gone. And it's just kind of getting to evolve. It's not a rebuilding. It's kind of a revamp a little bit of our team. So getting back to your original points that you were making before I came on, clearly you've got a rock star in Caleb Williams. He definitely, the game is not too big for him, and that showed. He has excellent pocket presence. He definitely showed good footwork. He was accurate, except for the one throw to Roma Dunze where it could have been picked off.
It should have been picked off. Yeah, that was the defender on there. I want to give props. Unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the defender on that play, but he ran that route for Rome. That was a terrific job of defending on that. Yeah. Well, before we get in, and again, the outcome of the game, I am being 100% sincere here. The final score really, to me, is not. I'm not going to gloat over a preseason victory of any.
Okay.
There's no reason to. That game was played. The majority of that game was played by guys that, if they're out there in the regular season on both sides, it's going to be trouble. First of all, is Ed Oliver okay? I know he got hurt on the first play.
Yes, he is.
He's fine. Good.
I mean, I think, when it comes to injuries or even the chance of injuries, you saw where they pulled Josh Allen relatively quickly when he slid the one time, and he was trying to do a Caleb Williams imitation as Caleb Williams was imitating Josh Allen. There were a lot of similarities there in their play. But I think that Sean always errs on the side of caution, and he takes the players out. Just like today, we found out that Shane Buechele, our third stringer, now has a neck injury. And then Mitch Trubinsky ended up going out today for a family emergency. We only had one quarterback now today. So you cannot underestimate injuries. And really, not that you want the second or third string players to get injured, but you definitely don't want your star quarterback or your starter defensive players to get injured. We've seen that last year, Matt Milano, we've seen Daquan Jones. All our players were getting injured, and it's a miracle that we ended up even in the playoffs and with a chance to get to the Super Bowl. So I think, I'm really excited that Sean does err on the side of caution when players, look potentially like they're putting themselves at risk. So I'd rather see that than have them get injured in preseason, which really means nothing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. The number one rule for preseason is come out healthy.
Exactly.
That's what you want to do. So give us a little bit of the firsthand then. The Bills Mafia, I felt like, did an excellent job of giving Caleb and the rest of the Bears offense a hostile environment to work in, as hostile as a preseason game can be.
Right.
What was the impression in the stadium of Caleb? What was everybody's kind of reaction to his play?
Well, I think it was pretty much wow. I think everybody saw that, that you do have a great quarterback there, and I think it wasn't so much the reaction to Caleb Williams as it was the reaction to how badly the Bills were playing. And I think that's kind of our fans are probably one of the most knowledgeable fan bases in the NFL. I would like to think. And we also, I'm very proud of this, we have a Bills Mafia Babes as part of our Bills Mafia, that we have thousands and thousands of women that probably know a lot more than some of the male fans do. You don't come there just, to look at the players. You come there to really understand the dynamics of a football game. And I think that people were really just frustrated that our defense wasn't, didn't show the schemes, and really they didn't show any game planning, which was very obvious. And that was frustrating because we expected more as fans. We expected them to at least show up and give their all. Now, tomorrow on my show, the Buffalo Huddle, I'll be talking a lot more about which players did stand out, because there were many that did. So
Yeah.
I tend to be more optimistic. I tend to look at the positives here. And we know that, like you said, preseason doesn't mean a lot. The Bears wanted to see Caleb Williams. They wanted to see him in a game situation. You knew that they had him prepped up. And no, Ralph, I'm not going to break out a poem on this show. Maybe next time if Adam has me come back, I'll write a poem. But not on Caleb Williams, though. No poetry.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Well, I could, but it wouldn't be very pleasant. No.
We don't want that then. We don't want that.
I don't swear. I did want to swear under my breath at some of the plays that the defense missed. But overall, I think, getting back to your original question, I think it was more, not so much like, wow, look at Caleb Williams, but it was more like, wow, what is wrong with our team? This isn't up to our standards. And you heard that from all the veteran players. Like, we've got to teach these young guys, this is not us. This is not Buffalo Bills football. So I think that's really what we were seeing as fans in the stands. Now, just to dispel any myths that might be out there, it was not snowing in August. It was beautiful weather. It was great. A little crispness in the air, a little windy. It was perfect football weather. So
I was going to say, this past weekend was gorgeous. It was
really was
perfect football weather. It was wonderful. Well, yeah, with Eric Washington coming over now for the Bears, he holds the title of defensive coordinator, but he's not calling plays. That is still the head coach, Matt Eberflus, is still calling the plays. So for Washington, it's really his knowledge of defensive line play and development is a huge part of why he's here. There's a Bears player in two young guys that are really key. And I'm curious what your take would be for these, because they're two different positions. Mm-hmm. We have fifth round rookie who played in the game and had some success, Austin Booker, coming off the edge, who had some success later on in the game as the second and third stringers were out. I'll be honest, I had forgotten that Trubisky had re-signed with you guys. It was, why is Mitch? Oh yeah. Huh. So, having Booker out there chasing Mitch around was a little interesting to see. But then the other guy that is so key and critical for the Bears this season is their 3 technique, Gervon Dexter. Yeah. What do you think from Eric Washington? Do you think there'll be which of those positions do you think will fit a little bit more easily for him to develop? Or is it both? Or is it neither?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because last year, even though Eric Washington was coaching the defense, he was not play calling. And I think that's one of the reasons that he probably didn't want to stay with the Bills, because Coach McDermott is a defensive head coach, and he really loves to keep kind of his fingers on the pulse of our defense. So Eric, had a lot to do with developing the line, and when he was here in Buffalo. Now, the question really is, and I don't know if anyone will really know, I do have some inside information from one of the players who I befriended, and I don't want to give out the information, but I do want to say that there was some interesting tidbits of information about Eric Washington that just keep an eye on him. That's all I'm going to say about that. But what I will say is we will never know, like, where was his role in the development of Ed Oliver? Like, how much was he influential in getting him to a Pro Bowl caliber, even though he wasn't in the Pro Bowl, but he's developing. And this year we're seeing more leadership. So with those two positions, it's hard to say exactly how much of an influence he's going to have, because we don't really know on our end from the Buffalo Bills as fans what his role with the defense really was because of the influence of Sean McDermott. Now, I don't know if that's going to play out, if he's going to have more of an active role in development of players, but just keep an eye on how he treats different players. And if you see any favoritism there, that is something to just keep an eye out for.
Good
Watch
to know. Good to know. Well, to be honest, simple favoritism might be a step up from the last Bears defensive coordinator they had. Their last guy had to leave partway through the season for reasons that a year later we still don't know. So
I do remember that. Yep, I do remember
some simple
that.
favoritism, I think, actually could be a sign of relief. So one more quick question for you here, Patty, before we go. Ralph brings up that, all right, Chase Claypool first played for the Steelers and got traded to the Bears, and has, after a couple of other stops along the way, has found his way into Buffalo for the Bills. How is Chase doing in Buffalo? And heaven help you guys with him. That's the best thing I can say about Chase.
Well, before I get to him, I just want to mention I was a little disappointed we signed Mitch again. I mean, nice guy. Again, this is nothing personal, but what I found out really in researching the reason he got signed back is because he's very good, a good play caller and a good backup for Josh. So that's really what we didn't have last year. So having him back is going to be really a support for Josh Allen, and hopefully we never see him in a game. So I just want to mention that. But with Chase Claypool,
I agree with that wholeheartedly. The less Mitch we see on an NFL field, the better we'll all be.
Yeah.
And that's speaking as someone that still has his jersey somewhere in my closet.
Oh, yeah, I like him. I want him to succeed. He was the first quarterback to throw a pass to Keon Coleman in the game, not yesterday, Saturday. And so great, good for him. That's the little bit of, if I'm ever on Jeopardy and they ask that question, who threw the first pass to Keon Coleman, that, for the first down, I can get that right. But getting back to Chase Claypool, I was the same way. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. Why did we sign this guy? Well, it sounded like he was a little desperate to try to prove himself one last time, possibly. So I heard an interview that our local reporters did with him. And I'm like, you know what? I'm a little impressed with him. I'm going to give him a chance. Keep an open mind. Well, guess what? He's got a toe injury. He hasn't played all season. So there we are. So I doubt the longer it goes into the preseason, the less we probably will see him, or he'll have a chance to make the team.
Well, I hate to say it, that might be the best outcome for the Bills. Right. I had a lot of conversations about Chase Claypool with a lot of other people, and it's
I think
it's up here for him.
Yeah, it's going to be his last hurrah. And the Bills, it's a great team to come to when you are a player who either needs to prove themselves or wants a reboot of their career, because we have an incredible culture here. It's all about family. Like not after this preseason game, but the prior week before, they had something called the Return of the Blue and Red, where the team came back from Rochester, the training camp, came onto the field. After the scrimmage that they had, they threw footballs to the crowd, they threw T-shirts. But what was probably the most powerful was they allowed the players to have their kids and their families to come on the field. So you saw all these little kids running around the field, having an absolute blast. And it was really great. They got to interact with each other's families. That's the culture that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have created here. So it is the perfect place for some of these quote unquote misfit players to come and try to reboot their careers. But
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath for Chase Claypool. It's not looking too positive.
Hopefully he figures something out. Otherwise, there could very well be some Canadian football leagues in his future. So, well, Patty, thank you so very, very much for coming on and giving us a little bit of
You're
insight
welcome.
into the game on Saturday. Thank you. Will we be seeing you? Will we be seeing you tomorrow night on Hard Knocks?
I don't know, but it was really cool because I got to talk to the Hard Knocks camera people, and they were like filming a family. My section is awesome. I actually have all the families of the players. That's how I've gotten to meet many of them. I met DeMar Hamlin's uncle. I'm from McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania. That's where I was born. So I got to meet his uncle. He was going to introduce me to DeMar, but then the tragedy happened. But on Saturday, I got to meet Dwayne Carter's father. I got to meet Joe Andreessen, who's a local guy, his parents. It was a really cool experience. And then I was like, well, who are they filming down there? And it turned out to be one of the players for the Bears. They were sitting like 4 rows in front of us. So the family that's going to have a little kid bouncing up and down and, dancing and everything. That's my section. And that's the family that was being filmed by Hard Knocks.
Okay. All right. Well, we will keep an eye on it. Patty, thank you again so very, very much. Best of luck to the Bills this season. And Bills Mafia is really a very cool group. Thank you guys for putting the fun back into being fans. It really is great.
Sure thing. There's Alexa said sure thing. So, so Alexa was listening to the show.
There we go. Well, she's always listening.
I'll tell you. But I do want to say, if anybody does ever come to Buffalo, look me up, because you know what? Bills Mafia they embrace anybody from other teams. Really, really fun place to watch a football game. It is incredible. Once the season gets started, we will be in full force. I'll be there cheering. And just one last thing I want to say before I leave. My sister, my beloved sister, Bills Mafia sister, my sister Mary, her second favorite team were the Bears. And we actually drove out to a game, and she was sick, but I did all the driving. She still wanted to go, and we got to a game, and we had a great time there. So I just wanted to mention that, and I've never really disliked the Bears. They're in the NFC, so that's a good thing. And, I would definitely root for Caleb Williams, except when he plays against us again.
All right. Well, that is Patty Bax. You can hear her every Tuesday night, 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock in the East, on the Buffalo Huddle. It is a fantastic show. As she puts it, Buffalo sports with a twist. You do not want to miss it.
Thanks, Adam.
All right. That is Patty Bax. We are going to take ourselves a very quick break. And then on the flip side, we'll still be reacting to some Bears and the feel good. There are some other, you can't necessarily call it feel good when somebody gets fired, but there was a collective sigh of finally across Chicagoland last week that we will be talking about as well. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We will be right back after this.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and our weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
And welcome back on in here to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Once again, be sure to check out the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax, Buffalo Sports with a Twist, Tuesday nights, 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock in the East. She does an amazing job. It is a fantastic show. I would highly, highly encourage and recommend you to check it out. Even if you're not necessarily a Buffalo fan, she just does an amazing job. You really come across just feeling great about sports and life in general when you listen to Patty do her show. It is a wonderful hour of your time. Wanted to talk just a little bit more Bears before we turn things over. There was another thing besides all the amazing plays and the wow stuff that we saw from Caleb. Something that surprised me that I didn't catch at first was, as Wes puts it, it's amazing watching a quarterback play the quarterback position, isn't it? I mean, there's still very much a Justin Fields fan inside of me, but yes, watching the way Caleb played on Saturday, it was impressive. But one of the things that was probably the most impressive was something that was so small and so simple that you basically missed it at first glance. The Bears had 0 delay of game penalties, 0 false starts, burned 0 timeouts to prevent a delay of game from happening. They got in and out of the huddle with ease. They got up to the line of scrimmage. Caleb took the snap. All the little stuff just to start the play all went off without a hitch for a rookie quarterback, especially anymore in the way that modern college football is played, which is basically exclusively out of the shotgun and with the calls coming in from the sidelines and everyone turning their heads and getting the play call that way. I guess I could have done that like this and kept the microphone, but oh well, it's just the internet. All those little things that Caleb did, those really are some of the most impressive. Besides, obviously, the jump man throw to Cole Kmet that was sensational and just made me go, holy bleep, what a play. Being able to execute all the little stuff there. The Bears looked like a professional offense, which was just amazing and something we haven't seen very much of. But now we have to shift gear, and we'll see what we get out of them this weekend. I wonder if how much of Caleb we'll see this weekend against Cincinnati. My expectation is we'll see about a half of the starters, maybe into the second half, but I doubt it. I would think you go 2 quarters, get into the half, get healthy, and then be done. If you think differently, hit me up in the comments. Let me know how much you would like to see the starting offense and the starting defense play this coming weekend against the Bengals as they make their Soldier Field debut. That place is going to be rocking. From a team that seems to be figuring it out to one that has absolutely nothing figured out. They finally did it. The White Sox finally put him out of their misery. They got rid of Pedro Grifol last week. They also ended the losing streak. It tied the American League record at 21 consecutive wins. The Oakland A's were trolling them going into the 22nd game, playing Taylor Swift's 22 in the pregame. But alas, it was not to be. The White Sox won the game and avoided a new American League record for consecutive losses. Then Pedro gets let go on the off day out of Oakland. It's got to be a relief to Pedro to know that he's done. He's out of the woods. He's not having to deal with this mess anymore. And he was very grossly and obviously overmatched. And that was part of the problem was, all right, maybe they didn't give him the keys to the best team, but he certainly absolutely was not helping matters along. But it did feel like it felt to me when they made the move, it felt like they were waiting for the losing streak to end, that they had they not won in Oakland, they would have just kept bringing him along until that streak ended, that they were going to make Pedro wear the entirety of that losing streak, however long it turned out to be. But finally, they're done. Grady Sizemore is now in. I know the host of our Cleveland show, Jen B., the show of the land. You can also hear them on Tuesdays. She is Tuesdays at 5:00 Central Time. She was very surprised to see Grady Sizemore get named the new interim manager for the White Sox. We'll get more into what the White Sox might be looking for in a manager in a little bit later of a show. Suffice it to say, what Chris Getz has announced he's looking for is somebody external and has been in Major League Baseball this season. So you can seemingly cross guys like Ozzie Guillen or A.J. Pierzynski or Joe Madden or David Ross, guys like that, off the list right out of the gate because they aren't in a major league clubhouse this year. They are looking externally, supposedly. We'll get more into that in a later episode, but at least Chris Getz for now has said that's what they're looking for. The White Sox turned around then by playing the Cubs and got swept in a 2-game series, which I don't know who over at the Major League Baseball office we have to talk to, but I get that, the interleague stuff like that, you're doing two-game series so that you can be in both parks. But why was it a Friday and a Saturday? Having a Sunday where both the Cubs and the White Sox off was just really awkward and really weird yesterday. That just felt very strange. And I frankly didn't like it. I would have much preferred they had Friday night off and they would have instead gone to play Saturday and Sunday instead. The Cubs took those 2 games from the White Sox, which puts them only a game under 500 and only 3 games out of the final wild card spot in the National League. So that makes me want, and they're now all the way up into 3rd in the division. I don't think that they're going to be competing in the division anytime soon. I think that ship has long sailed. But are they ready to make a run? Are they legitimate contenders again? As they are now over in Cleveland for a much more traditional 3-game series with the Guardians in the stadium where the greatest game ever played was held. Amazingly enough, that was 8 years ago already. My gosh, hard to believe. As we sit here in the top of the 7th, though, it is not going the Cubs' way. The Cubs were up 3-0. At one point, the 4th inning did not go well for the Cubs. The Guardians currently lead at 8-4, though the Cubs do have the bases loaded with 2 out right now. So there's potential. They've already gotten 1 home, Nico Horner an infield single to keep the line moving. So we'll see if they're able to do anything here with this. Dansby Swanson at the dish. He had himself a good weekend as well. Dansby recorded his 1,000th career hit in that series against the White Sox. So congratulations to him, though he definitely got upstaged by his wife. Congratulations, Mallory Swanson and the Team USA women's soccer bringing home the gold medal against Brazil. And it was Chicago's own Mallory Swanson that had the gold medal winning goal, the only goal in the gold medal game, 1-0 to bring home that victory. So congratulations to Mallory, a job well done. Well done. And she certainly gets the bragging rights over her husband on that one. Yeah, I got my 1,000th hit. I won a gold medal. Boom. Take that one. Take that one, buddy. As Dansby apparently heard me because he just hit a bases clearing double. So it's now 8-7 Cubs, or excuse me, 8-7 Guardians in the 7th inning. So interesting. If the Cubs take 2 out of 3 in this series, they're back to 500. They've got the weakest remaining schedule in the National League. Are they really going to compete for a wild card? Right now, I still feel like the answer to that question is no. They are not going to wind up in the playoffs. I don't trust this offense enough to get the job done. I just don't. I still feel like there's going to be the pendulum's going to swing the other way around, and they're all of a sudden the runs are going to dry up and they're just not going to be able to get stuff done. But for right now, at least, rack them up all you can. They've been spending a ton of time in the American League. They were playing, they played the White Sox over the weekend. They're playing the Guardians right now. They will have, I want to make sure I get the schedule correct here. They've got the Blue Jays coming up after, the Blue Jays coming to Wrigley this weekend. Then they go to the Tigers next week. They don't play another National League team for another almost 2 weeks from now. It's August 23rd before they finally play a National League team again. They play the Marlins and then the Pirates and the Nationals after that. So they've got a very winnable schedule right now, but I just don't trust them enough to feel confident to say that, yes, they're going to be that they're going to be a wild card team. I think they've put themselves back into the mix, certainly, but I have my doubts on whether or not they can pull this thing off and pull this thing out and actually get into October. We're going to take one more break, and then on the flip side, with the Olympics ending, that means we've got some teams coming back into the fold, and one in particular that has made a lot of waves this summer and might be making some waves this fall. We will be talking Chicago Sky next here on Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Do not go anywhere. We will be right back after this.
Cleveland and Columbus sports fans. This is Jen B., host of the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in live to the Show of the Land on Tuesdays, where we will cover the Cleveland Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Monsters. We will also talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, Crew, Fury, and of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll also cover other colleges in the area like Akron, Kent State, Cleveland State, Mount Union, John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace, Youngstown State, among others. So like I said, if you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in Tuesdays to the Show of the Land with Jen B. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. Set Point is going to be coming up right after us tonight. Taryn Rodriguez is going to have a huge breakdown of the volleyball Olympic series. I know it. The gold medal beach volleyball match for the women was a great one between Brazil and Canada. I got to watch some of that over the weekend, got to enjoy some of that. And Taryn reminding us also that for Mallory Swanson wasn't the only Chicago area athlete contributing to getting a medal in Paris. Thomas Jaschke, formerly of Loyola men's volleyball, helped the USA men's team win the bronze in Paris. And we can we'll likely see him on the team here in about 4 years when the Olympics come to Los Angeles as well. So congratulations, Thomas, and Taryn will have a full breakdown of everything from the world of volleyball that went on in Paris coming up here in just a few minutes. Well, with the Olympics wrapping up, we've got some teams that are returning to action, and that includes the Chicago Sky. The Sky, like the rest of the WNBA, have been on an Olympic break, and now they get to pick back up. The Sky will resume play this Thursday night, 7:00 at home against Mercury. The Phoenix Mercury. Their last game was all the way back nearly a month ago on July 16th, where the Sky upset the Las Vegas Aces 93-85. I want to reset everything a little bit for you. Of course, Angel Reese has been a huge part of it for this team, a big part of why the Sky are where they are. Currently, the Sky currently reside in the 8th and final playoff spot in the WNBA. They are 10-14 overall. They have a 3-game lead on Atlanta for that final playoff spot. They are effectively tied with Indy, with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. The Indiana has played 2 more games. They've won 1 and they've lost 1. So they both are effectively tied. Indy has a little bit of an edge there on it. And then the Sky are 2 games back of Phoenix. Phoenix is their first opponent back on Thursday night. So a big one there. If they're 2.5 back, 2.5 back of Phoenix. So a win on Thursday night would mean that the Sky would be just a game and a half back of Phoenix for potentially the 6th spot in the WNBA playoffs, with at that point then 15 games left to go. They've got 16 games left in their season. They play 7 games in August and then 9 games in September. And they've got a very winnable start. Their first 3 games, they host the Mercury on Thursday night. Then Saturday, they play in Los Angeles against the Sparks. The Sparks are having a very rough season, so they should be still that should be a very winnable game for the Sky on Saturday night. And then they follow that up on Sunday night, going to Phoenix and playing the Mercury. So they have a chance here in the span of 4 days, 3 games in 4 days on their way back. They could be within a half game of the Mercury in the standings. They could potentially, I'm going to double check and see here if Phoenix, I'm going to look at Phoenix's schedule here. Phoenix does not play in between. They come to Chicago, then they fly back home, and they play the Sky then again on Sunday night. They don't have anything in between. So Chicago could knock 2 of those 2.5 games off right away. Bang, bang, boom, boom. And they'd make up that and beat Los Angeles. You make up that other half game. They could make the whole thing up here over a long weekend, which would be huge for Chicago for their playoff chances. You feel okay with a 3-game edge over Atlanta with only 16 games left. You feel kind of okay with that, but it's still, it's always touch and go with that. We will, of course, be keeping an eye on the Sky and everybody involved there, and we'll see what they do. I feel confident in saying anywhere from that 6th seed as the peak for them, with the bottom being that 9 spot. I think that's where Chicago winds up finishing, but we will keep an eye on them as summer turns to fall, and we'll see what they've got going on. That is going to do it for our show here tonight. Huge shout out and thank you again to our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. You can follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky, or place orders by going to planetjerky.net. And of course, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. Follow them on Instagram at sealadeal_wax seals. And you can place your order by going to iesportsradio.com, Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Once again, and thank you also to everybody that hung out in the chat room with us tonight. Jen B, Ralph Calise, Larry B, Taryn Rodriguez, West True Blood, the Bukamania, Crooks Process was in here tonight. Brandon Buck, Crypto Runners, thank you everybody for being in here tonight. Really appreciate you being here. Huge shout out and thank you to Patty Bax for being the guest on the show here tonight and giving us a little inside perspective on that game from Saturday. Really enjoyed having her here. She is fantastic. You can catch her tomorrow night again on Tuesday at 6 o'clock Central right here on IE Sports Radio. Finally, thank you for being here and listening. I really, really appreciate you being here, taking time, whether you watch the show live here on Monday nights over YouTube or Twitter or Instagram, or you listen to the show later on as a podcast on Spreaker or Amazon or YouTube or wherever you find the podcast, thank you for being here. Once again, you can follow the show at IESRC on Twitter, or you follow along with me. I am at Adam_Karnik. Next week, of course, we will be breaking down the next preseason game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Hopefully, everybody comes out of that one healthy. We will talk about the Sky and the hopefully big weekend that they will have had. Maybe, who knows, maybe they'll be tied with Phoenix. We'll see you next time.